Hi, in this video, we're going to break down how IELTS exam preparation really works. The main idea is pretty simple. It needs to be focused and targeted. Why? Because you already know your goal. You know the band score you need to achieve. So everything you do should move you closer to that target. The first step in your IELTS preparation journey might sound simple, but do not underestimate it. Before you do anything else, you need to understand what this exam actually looks like. You need to know the format. IELTS is a pretty long 3-hour test made up of 4 very different sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Each one has its own format, different types of questions, specific timing, and a unique set of challenges. What's great about IELTS is that it's very predictable. The question types do not change. They've been the same for years. So once you learn how each section works and what's expected, you can really prepare with confidence. You won't get any surprises on test day, and that's something you can rely on. To help you with this, we've created 4 separate videos, one for each section, so you can get to know the format and expectations in detail. And at this stage, I also recommend you take a look at some practice tests on their official website, IELTS.org. That's one of the best ways to see how everything fits together. This step is really the foundation of everything that comes next. Don't skip it. Get familiar, get comfortable with the exam. Once you understand the format of the test, your next step is to understand the criteria for your target band. That means if your goal is band 7, you need to clearly understand what band 7 looks like in all 4 skills, because that's your target. For listening and reading, your receptive skills, this part is fairly simple. You just check how many correct answers you need. For example, in the academic test, band 7 in listening usually means getting around 30 to 31 correct answers. The scoring here is clear and predictable. That's why I strongly recommend doing at least one full practice test early on. It helps you get a realistic sense of where you stand in listening and reading. Now, when it comes to writing and speaking, your productive skills, that's a different story. Assessing those on your own is almost impossible. Why? Because speaking and writing are assessed using descriptive criteria, and those criteria are not easy to understand. In fact, even most English teachers struggle to fully understand or accurately apply the IELTS scoring system. It takes proper training and hands-on experience with the exam to interpret the criteria correctly. That's exactly why understanding the speaking and writing criteria is more of a process that takes a while. And this is where IELTS preparation courses or working with a trained IELTS teacher really makes a difference. When you work with a professional who knows the exam inside out, you gradually, keyword gradually, begin to understand what your target band actually means, and what's expected from you in each task. It really takes time, consistent feedback and reflection, but after a while, this picture or where you need to arrive becomes clearer. Once you start thinking about your target band score, a completely natural question follows: where am I now? And this is the real starting point of your IELTS preparation, figuring out where you are now and what it will take you to reach your goal. That's what IELTS preparation really is, bridging the gap between your current level and the band score you need. And to do that, you need a reliable evaluation of your skills, especially in writing and speaking, because, as I already mentioned, those are the hardest to assess on your own. There are a few ways to do this. You can enroll in an IELTS preparation course like Studia's IELTS Academy. You can work one-on-one with an IELTS professional, or you can use targeted services like the ones we offer at Studia, IELTS speaking mock exam and IELTS writing feedback. These services are designed to give you a clear, accurate picture of where you are and what you need to study to achieve your desired band score. Because to improve something, you need to measure it first. You need to know not just where you stand, but exactly what to do to move forward. If you're watching this video as a student at Studia's IELTS Academy, then this part has already been done for you. Your teachers have assessed all four of your skills and designed a clear path forward based on your needs. However, if none of this is available to you, a good starting point to assess your level is your performance in listening and reading. Typically, our receptive skills are stronger than our productive ones. We usually understand more than we can express. So, if you score band 7 listening, but you rarely speak or write in English, then it's likely that your speaking and writing are closer to band 6 or even band 5. That's okay, it's normal. Your productive skills are probably not too far behind because in real life, language skills are connected. If your listening is band 7, your speaking is definitely not band 3. That's just not how it works. I mean, it is possible, but it's very, very rare. So, what can you do right now? Start by taking a practice test to evaluate your listening and reading. That's your starting point. These results will give you a concrete idea of where you stand in your receptive skills. At the same time, reflect on your language habits. How often do you listen? How often do you read in English? How often do you speak or write in English? If you regularly watch YouTube or Netflix in English and you listen to English music or podcasts, and that's pretty much it, that's your relationship with English, then you can safely assume that your listening skills are stronger than your other skills. So, this combination of your test results for listening and reading and your honest reflection, but really honest reflection, can really help you get a better picture of your overall skill set. So, what does IELTS preparation actually look like in practice? It's all about bridging that gap between where you are now and where you need to be. And that process is usually a combination of two things: targeted studying and then testing yourself from time to time to see how close you're getting to your goal. Now, when I say studying, I don't mean random grammar or vocabulary activities or just general practice. I mean targeted studying, focused practice that's designed to move you, not somebody else, but you, step by step toward your desired band score. So it looks like this: you study for a while, then you test yourself to check your progress. Then you go back to studying, and after a while, you check again. But here's something really important: don't test yourself too often, especially if your target is far from your current level. If your writing or speaking is currently at band 5 and your goal is band 7 or higher, you're not going to get there in a few weeks. That kind of improvement takes time, at least 6 months of consistent everyday work. So if you already know there's a big gap, there's no point in doing a mock test every few weeks. You're better off investing that time in building your skills, because improvement doesn't come from testing, it comes from studying. So to sum up, IELTS preparation is a back and forth process between focused studying and occasional evaluation, but only when it makes sense. In the next slide, we'll break down what studying and testing actually mean in this context so you can organize your prep in a smart, effective way. What does studying mean in the context of IELTS preparation? As I've said before, it means targeted, focused work, not just general English practice, but study that's directly connected to the most common IELTS topics and to the exact skills that the test measures. Your preparation should include all 4 skills: reading, listening, speaking, and writing, plus consistent development of your vocabulary and grammar, and regular work with IELTS practice tests and past papers. Let's look at what that actually involves. For your reading skills, read widely, but stay focused on IELTS relevant topics. You're improving your ability to scan, skim, understand structure, and handle complex texts. At the same time, you're developing your vocabulary and noticing how grammar is used in context. It's a good idea to read both IELTS-style texts and authentic materials like news articles, essays, or even whole books on topics such as environment, technology, education, health, and the other common IELTS topics. I suggest you head over to Studia's website, navigate to the study corner, scroll down to Reading for Proficiency. We publish a new IELTS style reading text every week, focus on common IELTS topics and followed by vocabulary building activities, especially designed for students aiming for band 7 and above. Listening involves exposing yourself to as much English as possible, but again, relevant to IELTS topics. Watch documentaries, YouTube videos, TED Talks, listen to podcasts that explore the same themes you will see in the test. And also, it's important to do listening comprehension activities, which means answering IELTS style listening questions. Speaking preparation is very much focused on working with the type of questions you'll be asked in part 1, part 2, and part 3. You're not practicing to speak about everything, just the topics and question types that appear in the exam. You should always practice under exam conditions, so use a timer and don't forget to record yourself and learn from those recordings. For the writing section, it's the same story. It's very specific. You are preparing for task 1 and task 2. So your only practice is writing essays and letters or reports, nothing outside that scope. You learn how to plan, how to develop and present your ideas clearly, and write in a way that matches the IELTS scoring criteria. As you work on all 4 skills, you will be actively growing your vocabulary and refining your grammar. This includes learning new words and expressions by topic, practicing collocations, phrasal verbs, idioms, mastering sentence structure, and most importantly, applying all of that in real tasks. And don't forget, working with practice tests and past papers is essential. You should use them regularly, but not to evaluate yourself, but to practice with real IELTS questions and, most importantly, learn from your mistakes. Once you finish a practice test, go through your answers, understand why an answer was correct or wrong. Notice patterns, extract new words, or complete sentences if you find them useful. There's so much you can learn just by analyzing your answers. Now that you have an idea of what IELTS studying looks like, here's a really good strategy to pull all of this together. Study by topic. Choose one IELTS topic, let's say environment, and spend 2 weeks doing everything around just that topic. First, start with reading and listening. Read texts and listen to materials related to the environment. This helps you develop your receptive skills, but more importantly, it helps you accumulate the vocabulary and ideas that you need for productive skills later. Then focus on speaking and writing. Practice answering IELTS style questions, discuss environmental issues, and write essays or task one reports on the topic of environment. Because you did reading and listening first, you're now equipped with the right language and ideas to express yourself confidently. So remember, start with input, then move to output, and keep everything aligned around one topic at a time. So, what does it really mean to evaluate or test yourself during IELTS preparation? It means trying to replicate the real exam conditions as closely as possible. That includes doing listening and reading tests under timed conditions, using real IELTS practice papers or past tests, so not just general English materials, and completing full writing and speaking tasks using actual IELTS questions. For listening and reading, the process is simple. Set a timer, follow the instructions exactly, and use the official format. This helps you build not only your skill, but also your focus and time awareness. For writing and speaking, evaluation means getting feedback. And ideally, this feedback should come from an arts professional, someone who knows the scoring criteria and can tell you what's working and what needs improvement. If professional feedback isn't available to you, you can also ask a friend, study partner, or someone who has already done the exam and got the score you need, and ask them to look at your work and give you their perspective. Even basic feedback can help you become aware of your strengths and weaknesses. The key is this: you're not just testing yourself for the sake of testing. You are doing it to measure your progress, to practice under real conditions, and to get feedback that helps you make focused improvements. If you're watching this as a student at Studios Arts Academy, this process is already built into your study plan. You'll complete full mock exams with your teacher in week 4 and again week 8 under exam conditions, so you can track your progress with expert feedback. Here's the big question: how do you know you're ready to take the IELTS exam? The answer is simple: when you're consistently meeting your target criteria. Keyword consistently. Don't rely on just one good test result. If you hit band 7 once, that's great, but it's not enough. You need to repeat that performance a few times under realistic conditions. That's when your confidence becomes real, because you will know when your mind switches from I'm hoping I'll get my score to I've done it consistently, I'm ready. So keep cycling through the process, study, evaluate, improve, repeat. Stay focused and intentional. And when you're hitting your goal regularly, that's your signal to book the official exam. And if you're wondering how to build your own IELTS study plan, watch the next video. In that one, I'll take everything we've talked about and show you how to turn it into a real structured plan. But not just any plan. We'll create a plan that you'll actually stick to. Because let's be honest, people make plans all the time, but they don't always follow through. And usually it's because the plan wasn't built properly in the first place. So I'll help you create a study plan that fits your life, keeps you focused, and gives you real results from day one. Because when the plan makes sense, you stay consistent, and that's what gets you to your goal.